Hello, I'm Jay. I'm codependent. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation. I will try to stick to the prompt. There is so much to talk about. In my childhood, I was, through higher power's will, brought into a family in a society. And I see it as the family and the society both taught me that emotions were not a thing that I should have, that autonomy was not a thing I was allowed to have, and truth was not a priority. There's a story in some program somewhere about fish don't recognize the water because it's everywhere. And that assumption in that society was everywhere. I've been so thrilled at the addition in the welcome of the and other systems, because it gives me permission. I was doing it before, but now I have permission to share about the other systems part of the origins of my codependency. And when I look at the patterns and think about that in terms of different aspects of society, it becomes a little bit mind-boggling and overwhelming. And not to jump too far ahead, but luckily this program teaches me that I get to do one thing at a time, one moment at a time, at the speed that I can handle. I chose teaching as my profession, and I focus a lot on how do the systems of education reinforce the societal codependency around me. And it boggles my mind when students come to me and ask for my permission to go into a little room to relieve their bladders. And just the very idea of asking another human for permission to take care of a bodily function. And I was raised in that. And I am still swimming in that ocean because I have these rooms, but there aren't a lot of other places to be. And so I'm very grateful for the presence of these rooms so that I can at least talk about it and be heard, because like my childhood, there are times where I want to talk about it perhaps with a colleague, and the colleague just says, yeah, that's how it is. And a part of me, if not the entirety of me, says, yes, but it could be different. And I get to work on the acceptance angle of that, but also the speaking up for my needs and desires part of that, and giving the result over to higher power. In addition to all that, I'm thrilled to know that in the frequently asked questions portion of the Big Blue Book, that pages 120 to 122 of the most recent edition has a list of overt and covert abuses. And my childhood is filled with many of those. I was spanked as a form of discipline. I was put down both directly, but also indirectly and or in jest by my family, by my peers, and also by institutions. Additionally, as part of my recovery, it came to my attention that I had all the signs and symptoms of a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. And while at this time I still don't have any memories, I do have dreams that I get to process and work through. And this program gave me permission to practice recovery from childhood sexual abuse, whether I have memories or not, and was able to grow as the result of that. This program has given me so many things. I could probably fill a day talking about all of them. I will try to focus on one or two. The book, Codependents Anonymous, has been a gift. I owned a copy from very early on in program, and rarely picked it up, rarely cracked the spine. Sometimes I would join a meeting whose focus was reading the book a paragraph at a time, and I was always amazed by how wonderful it is, but I would not open it. And thanks to the tool of conferences and conventions, one year I was lucky to be able to drive out to a world conference where a member was sharing about using the Blue Book as a sponsorship recipe. And that changed my life. I had been trying to sponsor for a number of years, and many sponsees would disappear within weeks, and 2 or 3 made it to step 3, but had not made it into the meat of step 4. The first person that so I went to that conference. I listened to the workshop, and I was very inspired, and I took the Blue Book, and no one in my area had been using the Blue Book that way, but I wasn't going to let that stop me. So I called my sponsor and said, this is what I was at, this is what I heard, this is what I would like to do. I would like to take myself through this process and read the results to you. And my sponsor said, hey, that's cool, I'd love to be a part of that. And that was life-changing as well. It helped me to see things that I had up to that moment never seen, and it opened up the scope of what was recovery for me quite a bit. And once I had done that, I got a request from a person to sponsor them, and I said, yes, I would like to do it this way that has worked for me so well, by using the book. And that sponsee is still working program with me. And I have had a lot of success with sponsees sticking around using the Blue Book as a recipe. And I can't really speak to why that is with any authority or accuracy. But what I think is a facet of that is it reduces the amount of I, a human being, am suggesting this thing for you, a human being, to do in order to recover. It's now, I think we should look at the book, and the book recommending these things, and having the knowledge that the book comes from a long tradition of codependents working this program. It comes from the group conscience and all these things. So yeah, the patterns have been a miracle. When I walked into my first meeting, I have no idea whether this was intentional. I was handed the patterns and characteristics and asked to read them at a point in the meeting. And when it got to that point, I remember reading the list and stopping in the middle and just saying, "Where did you get this list?" And someone in that meeting very gently saying, "There will be time for questions at the end of the meeting. Please continue." And I continued with the list, and I remember thinking to myself, I'm pretty sure I'm everything on this list except maybe one or two things. And that list was expanded, and I was those things too. And then having the recovery patterns, like the promises, gives me words that I can use to assess my own progress and assess where I need to put in additional effort into my growth. And those areas change day to day, week to week, month to month, and so on. And the steps and traditions. The traditions are amazing and give me a new way to live my life on a daily basis in recovery. It gives me a way to conduct my relationships with other people, and it gives me guidance on how I can be a leader but not an authority, which is very powerful for me. At the same time, I think of the traditions and think about how different the world might be if our political systems were to engage with them. And sometimes it makes me cry. But I can hold out hope. And I can do what I can to bring that about in the world. Reach out calls have been incredible for me. One of my new epiphanies, one of my powerful ideas about codependency is that it requires isolation to continue. I had, and still from time to time have, a tendency to beat up on myself, to tell myself I'm not doing enough, not trying hard enough, I am not enough. But calling other people, engaging in fellowship with other people, going to meetings where other people are, and sharing my truth helps me to hear myself, basically. As I share, I listen. But also, sometimes people offer feedback, and I get to hear another person mirroring something back at me. I have put something out, and now I receive this thing in return, and I find out that these other people think I'm doing what I can. And that helps me combat the voices in my head that are telling me that I am not enough. They remind me of program principles and slogans and affirmations, and that is very powerful for me. And honesty is critical. When I came to this program, I thought I was being honest. And for me, peeling the onion is noticing new ways in which I lie to myself, and trying to remove those ways. I used sarcasm for a long time, in a sense of humor way, but also as a way of telling the truth, but not in a way that might lead to consequences. Noticing that, I got to decide that I wanted to work to remove sarcasm. And I still struggle with it from time to time, but I have moved more toward rigorous honesty in my life. Telling the whole truth as I see it, based on the information I have. Knowing that I might get more information later, and accepting that that won't have made me a liar at the time. I'll just end up with more evidence later. Today I get to practice the things that the book reminds me are part of recovery, even if they're not part of program. The book acknowledges that special workers are important, therapists, mental health guides of other flavors, as well as, outside literature can help give me words to describe things that I was unable to describe. And today, one of those things that I get to wrestle with is trying to build a new understanding of love, and understanding that it is not about controlling another person, but growing with another person, no matter what type of relationship it might be. Today I get to see that love is wanting for another person what that person wants for themselves, even if it means it's not what I want for me or for them. I get to experience the joys of program in that I'm no longer being an honest person so that people will like me. I become an honest person so that I am an honest person. I get to be in relationships not to make myself better, but for the joy of relating to another person, for the opportunity to hear higher powers' words through other people, in addition to what I hear from higher power, and to play. Program gave me back play. It gave me back a relationship with my inner committee, and I feel my life being hijacked far fewer times by my inner committee, and I feel in myself a sense of trust in myself, and that is a beautiful thing. And I hope that this program can bring these gifts to all of you and to all the people of the world who look for it. I didn't know that I was looking for these things until I was here, but I'm so glad that I have them. Thank you for letting me share.